So hello and welcome ladies and gentlemen to Spoilers of Pandaria Encounter 10-man normal in the Siege of Orgrimmar raid. And for this fight you want to bring 2 tanks, 2 healers and the rest DPS, cleave DPS being amazing on this fight. The idea is you have to clear 2 Mogu and 2 Mantid arenas separated from each other. So you will split your raid into 2 groups consisting of 1 tank, 1 healer and 3 DPS. And in this guide I am not gonna explain to you what every single ability of every single mob does, because I would be here for about an hour. There's a lot of abilities, a lot of mobs, but only a couple of them need to be dealt with or are actually threatening, so I'm just gonna cover those, okay? And before I start, let's talk about a couple of things. You will always have 1 Mantid and 1 Mogu arena. You can't do 2 Mogu or 2 Mantid arenas. And I think it's because the Mogu arena actually takes longer to do than the Mantid arena, okay? But in each of these 4 arenas you have a hook. If you click on the hook it will take you back up and you can actually go and help the other group, okay? So if you're in the Mantid arena and you finished like a minute ahead or something like that, you can go and help people in the Mogu room. Second thing, these arenas are really far apart, which means that if group 1 uses Bloodlust, group 2 will not get the buff or the debuff. So it's really good to have 1 person with Bloodlust in each group. So now that we know that, let's cover the boxes. I'm gonna go with the small boxes first, and the large boxes, and the big boxes. And I'm only gonna cover the important ads, okay? I'm not gonna talk about all of them because there's just way too many of them, okay? So in the Mantid arena, if you open a small crate, there's a chance you will get an ad called the Amber Encased Kunchong. It's a small Garalon basically, and he needs to be DPS down really fast because he's going to do something called Encapsulated Pheromones. He will throw these orange circles around the entire room, and if you stand in them, they will do 100,000 fire damage to you every second. Okay, if you get too many of them and you don't deal with them properly, the room's going to fill up really fast. And in the Mogu arena, the most annoying thing you can get from the small box is a burial urn. This thing on its own doesn't do anything apart from spawning sparks of life. Now, these sparks will move around the room, inflicting about 250k nature damage to everyone within 4 yards. And if you destroy one of these, it will invoke a lightning nova and will do 150k nature damage to everyone within 8 yards. So this is why you want to destroy the urns first, because these things spawn pretty damn fast, and if you open too many boxes and you have like 4 of these, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of freaking damage. And of course, these are just the 2 mobs that you need to focus on. I'm not telling you to ignore the other ads, you know, but these are the most important. The other ads are, you know, it's okay to just cleave them down while you're dealing with these 2. Moving on to the medium boxes, and in the Mantid arena you only have 2 choices. You either get an Amber Priest or a Wind Wielder. The Amber Priest takes priority over the Wind Wielder, but the Wind Wielder is also fairly dangerous, so he takes priority over the small dudes. So the Priest is priority number 1 because of something called residue. He will apply a thick layer of restorative amber residue to nearby friendly targets, healing them for 150,000 health every 3 seconds, and this effect is divided amongst all targets evenly. He will also do something called Mantid's Swarm, which is basically he will spawn more ads. And the Wind Wielder needs to be focused down as well because of something called Rage of the Empress. Rallies nearby friendly targets, increasing all damage dealt by 50%, divided evenly amongst all targets. Moving on to the Mogu medium crates. Now, there are again 2 mobs that you can get from this. Modified Anima Golem is priority number 1, and the Mogu Shadow Ritualist is priority number 2. Okay, and the Mogu Shadow Ritualist once again takes priority over the small ads. The modified Anima Golem is really dangerous because of an ability called Matter Scramble. He will throw down 2 red circles on the ground, and you need 1 player in each one of these circles. After a short period of time or short delay, these 2 players will be swapped. If there is no one in the red circles, it will explode and do 300,000 fire damage to everyone in the arena. Moving on to the big boxes, now let's start with the Mogu one. So in the Mogu arena, really, if you open a big box, there's only one type of ad you can get. You know, there are 4 different kinds of this ad, but essentially they're the same, but one does shadow damage, one does fire damage, one does firestorm damage, and one does nature damage. There's no way of choosing which one you're gonna get, so it's random, and they're essentially the same, okay? On his own, this ad is not very threatening, but he will do something called Return to Stone. He will drain some of the life essence from players, knocking them back and inflicting around 80,000 shadow damage and forming a stone statue from this essence. This stone statue is an ad. They will run around the room and he will stun people with a frontal cone attack. You can tank him, but for each one of these ads, the big Mogu dude will get a buff that increases damage dealt by 10%. So if you have like 5 of these stone statues running around, that's 50% extra damage going onto the tank. And this guy does pretty good damage to begin with. So what you need to do is just focus down the stone statues while kind of cleaving down the big Mogu. And in the Mantid arena, you will get a Mantid commander. He will do some ticking damage over the time while he's alive. But the important thing is he will target a random person and he will throw bombs at him. And how these bombs work is it will give you 4 stacks. Each one of these stacks explodes for 200,000 fire damage after 15 seconds. But you also get an extra action button. And if you click the extra action button, you will throw the bomb on the ground. Okay, and you will lose 1 stack. So you either need to choose a part of the room where you will drop off these bombs, or if you have a really big cooldown and you can survive 800,000 fire damage, you can actually soak them. But even if you soak them, it will do that damage within 9 yards, so don't stand near anyone. Okay? And also another thing is, these bombs, if you throw them on the ground, they will explode if anyone comes within 9 yards of them as well. So be really careful. Just choose a part of the room where you're gonna have all these bombs and just throw them down there. So that's all about the massive boxes. Now let's talk about the special boxes. These are the boxes with green symbols, and these have pandas in them. And if you open these boxes, you either get a Brewmaster, Mistweaver, or a Windwalker panda. Be careful with those, they do quite a bit of damage, but on their own they're not that threatening. And how we dealt with this is as soon as we enter an arena, we opened all of them and got as many buffs as possible for as long period of time as possible. And as soon as you kill one of these pandas, it will drop an orb. You can right click the orb and get a buff. So the tank buff is you have a chance to inflict 400,000 nature damage to all enemies within 4 yards and stun them for 1 second. This bypasses all the immunities, okay, and has a 15-second cooldown as well. The heal one is probably the coolest one as well. You have a chance while healing that you will send this huge tidal wave in the direction you're facing, and this will do 100,000 healing. It will travel 40 yards, and it also does around 400,000 nature damage. This tidal wave has an 8-second cooldown. The DPS one is the most boring one. You basically have a chance to do additional 100,000 fire damage, and it has a 5-second cooldown. And the reason why you want to pick those up at the beginning of the fight is because they only work within that arena. If you move to a different arena, the buff will drop. And this fight isn't really that hard. The idea is you will jump down to the arena, you will open all the small boxes, all the medium boxes, and 1 out of the 2 large boxes. This will give you enough energy to click the lever and move to the other arena, okay? Both arenas are the same, so you will open all the small boxes, all the medium ones, and then 1 large, and they will give you enough. And this fight is pretty cool just because you can choose how many mobs you want to fight at any given time, and what types, you know? You can open all the small boxes, or you can start with the boss and stuff like that. But couple of tips: always open the panda boxes first. This will give you the buff for the rest of the arena, which really helps. Next thing, we decided to bloodlust both groups in the Mogu arena because that arena takes longer. Okay, in the Mantid arena we managed to end up with 40 seconds to spare there. So if you do end up with a lot of time to spare in the Mantid arena, you can send 1 DPS to the other Mogu arena and help them. Next tip, in the Mogu arena we decided to start off with the boss, so that we have all our procs, all our cooldowns for him. But in the Mantid arena we decided to clear the room first and then open the boss box. There is a very good reason for that. It's much easier to deal with the bombs when the bloody room isn't covered in boxes. You have more space to maneuver in. So this is how we decided to do it, but you can do it basically however you want. This is what's cool about this boss. Even though it's called the Thrash of Pandaria, it feels like a thrash bag. It's basically what happens when you go into a 5-man heroic and you pull the entire instance at once. That's the best simulation for this if you wanna try it out before you get here. But the fact that you can actually choose which boxes you want to open, and if you want to leave the boss for the end, or if you want to kill him at the beginning, that's pretty cool. But let's say you just want to jump down, you want to bloodlust when you think it's the best, you want to deal with the important ads as I've said, and get the panda buffs as soon as possible. Okay, so I hope this guide was helpful. This boss, once again, it's not that hard, but it's quite a bit of fun actually. So wish you good luck against this boss, and I thank you all for watching. Bye bye.